Hello everyone, thank you for joining today's lecture. My name is Ashraf and I am software developer, and I started a series of lecture on C++ programming language. This is not only theoretical lecture, but beside the lecture we are going to implement those lectures, because if you want to learn a programming language, so you need to write codes and practically you should do something. So thank you for joining in this lecture. This course is about C++ programming language, and I will teach you from basic to advanced. And thank you for joining in this lecture. First of all, anyone who is joining in this lecture, the first question which you should ask yourself, why you are going to learn the C++ programming language, why you are here to watch this lecture. And that's a great question. If you ask this question from yourself, it means you are learning something by objective, and you will become something. You become a game developer, or you become a mobile application developer, or you become a software engineer, or you become a system developer. So I started this series. So I'm going to start from the basic, from the fundamental of the programming. So let's start. The first question is, what is a program? We say program. What is really a program? Or you call it software, or you call it application. So a program is a series or a sequence of instructions which is written by a programmer, which tells the computer what to do. So a program is written by a programmer, someone who is written the program, someone designing, developing and making these programs, writing these programs. Those people or those individuals are called programmers. Programmers. So a program is a sequence of instructions or collection of instructions which is written by a programmer or individual, and to tell the computer what to do. And the computer CPU read those instructions line by line and perform what is written there. Like suppose a program is written to list all of the employees from the database. So the CPU execute that instruction and lists all the information of employees from database. Or a program is written to print 100 pages of A4 or print a book. Or a program is written to calculate the salary of the total salary for all employee of a company. So it depends on you what kind of programs you're writing. So the question is, why we write programs, why we need them actually. So why we need programs, why we need to write them. So I write here why we need to write programs. The answer is, first, why we need to write programs, or why you are going to develop softwares. Because we want to automate the tasks. Automate the tasks. So why we need to write programs? Because we want to automate the task. The task which is executed by humans, it should be executed by computers. It should be executed by computers. Why by computers? Because the computers are fast, and when the computers execute a program, they are accurate. So it is fast. It's performed or executed programs a task in nanosecond, and also the computer is accurate. And we are humans, we are not fast and we are not accurate. So to automate the task is to solve complex problems. Solve complex problems. We write programs because we need to, solve the complex problems or solve scientific complex problems. So we need to write the programs. Third, we need programs, to analyze data, to analyze a large amount of data. And the question is, the human also can, analyze the data. The human also can solve the complex problems. But the answer is, it takes time. It takes resources. It needs a lot of money. So suppose I give you an example. Like everyone, studied, addition in the school, and we know how to add numbers together. But let's assume someone give you a 50-digit numbers, like from here till here, a 50-digit number, or like a 20-digit number. And suppose we have those numbers, 10 rows of those numbers, and someone tell you to add together this number. So what do? You start adding the numbers. It takes at least 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, when you solve the problem, and that's an addition, a simple problem, yes? It's not too difficult. At the end, if I ask you, are you 100% sure that, the sum of those numbers are correct, the result is correct? You definitely tell me no, because we as a human make mistakes. And when we want from a computer to perform that task, first, the computer is fast, taking less time, like in nanosecond, it will calculate all of them. Second, it's accurate. It's accurate, and the result which we get from a computer is completely correct. And the computer, if the computer gave you incorrect information, that is because the program is written by programmer is not correct. And the programmer, implemented an inaccurate logic. So that's why we need to write programs. And in this course, we learn C++ programming languages. So let me clean up. So programs, I told you, program is a collection of instructions which tells the computer what to do. And the people or the person or individual who writes a computer program called programmer. And we have another term which called programming. We have programming. And programming is the heart of writing a computer program. Is called programming. So that's another term when you encounter in the future, so programming. But the thing is, we know the computers were invented on 1940s. The electronic computers. Invented on 1940s. And the first computer were invented, those first computers were invented for, military purposes. And first programmers, the language of a computer is called a machine language. The computer only understands the machine language. The machine language contains, 0 and 1. It has 2 digits, which is called binary. It's called also a binary language. It's called a binary language. And this is the language of computer. In 1940s, for first computer, the programmers were writing codes on machine language. And the machine language is executed directly by CPU because CPU only understands 0 and 1s. So the first programmers were writing programs on 0 and 1s, like 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. like this. And a program where contains, like a collection of, 0 and 1s. And writing programs on the binary language was so difficult. It was so difficult. So they created another level of language called, assembly language. Assembly language. In assembly language, the programmers added some, human words, some which we can speak, like there were move, or there were some, like add for adding, or subtract, SUB for, subtraction of two number, MUL, like. But the computer only understands the 0 and 1s. And then, they written another program, they developed another program called assembler. Assembler. And what was the object of assembler was to translate from assembly language to the machine language, because the computer only understands 0 and 1s. The computer does not understand move, add, sub, and mul. They created assembly language to write program easily than machine language, because machine language were a collection of 0s and 1s, which is called binary, and the CPU understands only that language. If you want to talk with a computer, we need to write codes or instructions on machine language. Then they developed another language, because writing a program on machine language was so difficult. They developed another, programming language called assembly language. And this language, they added some, human words, English words like move, MOV for moving, or add, like for, addition, or sub for subtraction, or mul for, multiplication, or div for division. But the problem was the computer doesn't understand the move or add or sub, or the program which is written in assembly language. So they developed another program called assembler. The assembler was, translating this, assembly language code into machine language, 0s and 1s. So the computer understand and, execute those instructions. Then programmers created I-level language. So first, let me write here so you understand. So first it was machine language, which was 0 and 1, which is called also binary. This is the language of computer. An instruction you write, it should be contains 0 and 1, and the computer CPU understand that. Then, because writing a program in machine language was so difficult, so they created another language called assembly language. And like they added some, mnemonic or some human readable words like move, like add for addition, move for movement, like sub for subtraction, and like these words. But we know the computer only understands 0s and 1s. So they develop another program called assembler. What assembler do, like this was a source code in assembly language. Assembly language like add, 1, 2, or move, like 1, 3. Then the assembler, they develop assembler which, translate to the machine language, like those 0 and 1s. So the computer CPU understand. Then writing in assembly language also was difficult and time consuming to use. So they developed another language like I-level languages. And the I-level languages, like, Python, C++, Java, C Sharp. They are near to human language, like English. They are, writing a program is much more easier to write in high-level language than machine language, than assembly language. Like we have, Python, we have Java, we have C Sharp, we have C++. But the C++ language is a middle-level language. It's also, we can say, high-level and also middle language. Why? I will explain later. So this was the story of programming language, like Java. So because this lecture is about C++, so we are not talking about other programming language. We only talk about C++ language. And now I'm coming to the answer to that question, which you ask yourself, why you learned the C++ programming language. A programming language is used to develop or build applications or softwares. Today we have millions of softwares which every day solve our problems. It's from calculator, it's video editing, it's video players, it's antiviruses, it is softwares on the cloud, websites, mobile apps. We have softwares which control the trains, controls and automate the airplanes, the missiles, it's used for scientifics. Everywhere we have software today or programs. So now the question is, if I learn C++ programming language, what kind of application I am going to develop? In other words, C++ programming language is a programming language to develop applications, softwares. For which kind of software or applications, is good to learn C++ programming language. So now, first, if you learn C++ programming language, you can develop system softwares. System softwares. System softwares, also you called operating system. Without system software, other applications will not work. System software, also called operating system, like Windows. We have Windows, Microsoft Windows. Now we have Windows 11. We have Mac OS, which is from Apple. Mac OS. We have Linux. We have also Android. We have also iOS. Android is used for our smartphones, and iOS also used for smartphone like iPhones. So also we have operating system for TVs, smart TVs, yes, smart watches. So so if you learn C++, so you can develop operating systems, and this operating system is written in C++. Not all part of this operating system, but the main part, which is called kernel. If you know something about operating system, you later know the kernel. The kernel is, you can call it the brain of an operating system, the heart of an operating system, which perform everything and control everything, the hardware, the software, the resources, So the kernel of this operating system is developed by C++ programming language. Why? Because C++ programming language has direct access to the computer hardware. First, it has direct access to the computer hardware. Second, it controls the resources very well. So that's people, develop this kind of application or softwares in C++. C and C++. C++ is an extension of another language which is called C. So the C and C++ programming language is used to develop kernels. Second, this language is used to, develop drivers. Drivers are softwares which introduce hardware to your computer. Like if you want to have a printer to print for you, so they have a software called drivers. And driver, what they do, the drivers introduce, they can, that printer to your computer so you can print. So this kind of application also developed by C++. And the third, the C++ programming language is used for game development. For game development. Today we have money games, We play a lot of games today. Like one of the popular game, which is Call of Duty, is developed by C++ programming language. Why they develop by C++? Because the C++ speed is very fast. It directly, access the hardware. It's good in controlling the resources, like the memory. So any application you want to have high performance, and critical high performance applications are developed by C++. You cannot develop this kind of application as Python or Java or C# because their speed is not good. If a time is critical, in nanoseconds, so you develop such kind of application in C++. And the game, if you want to become a game developer and you're interested to develop a game, so you can use C++ programming language. And the Call of Duty, one of the examples is Call of Duty, which developed by C++. And the fourth, if you want to, develop desktop applications. Desktop applications, you use C++. Desktop applications like Microsoft Word processing, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, Adobe InDesign, Camplayer, VLC Player, the programs which installed on your computer, on your laptop or on your desktop computers, you can use C++. And the Adobe products like Adobe video editing like Premiere, InDesign, they developed in C++. Why they developed in C++? Because their performance should be, this program should be fast. So that's they develop. If you want to develop desktop application, you can use C++ programming language, like word processing, like Adobe software, like a Camplayer, like VLC Player, calculators, any program which you can install in your system, and does not need a web browser to run on it. So you can use. Of course, if you want to use C++, you can use for mobile application development. If you see the Android operating system, the kernel of Android operating system is developed by C and C++, and most of the library of the Android operating system is developed by C, C++. At the top, you have Kotlin language or Java language, but at the bottom, the second layer, you have the libraries, which those libraries are developed by C++. And the kernel of operating system, Android, is developed by C and C++, which is Linux-based kernel. So, also you can develop, robots applications. You can develop any kind of application which controls robots using C++ programming language. So that's you came and joined this, course. And the question was, if I learn this language, if I put my resources, my time, my energy to learn this language, what kind of application I can develop? Because a programming language is used to develop applications, build applications or softwares. So the C++, I can tell you, is a general purpose programming language which is used for developing high performance applications. If you ran a program which is developed by Python and the same program is developed by C++, maybe the Python will run that program in 5 milliseconds, but the C++ ran that application in 0.05 millisecond, less than 1 second, less than 1 millisecond, because the C++ speed is very good. It has direct access to the CPU, which execute direct access to the, the memory. So that's any application which needs, high performance. You can use C++ language to develop these applications. In the past, people used, C, another language. Why they don't use, C anymore? Because C++ is an object-oriented programming language, which we can, in real world, we see the objects like computer, PCs, desktop, cars, buses, tracks, airplanes. So we need to develop application for those, and we can map those, objects in the software, and we develop such kind of applications. So we use C++ programming language. So if you want to learn, if you join this course, if you ask yourself why I should learn C++, because if you want to become a system developer, which have good salary, more than 150,000 US dollar per month, so you join C++, you learn C++. If you want to develop, control the robots, most of the industry robots which working on Amazon, which automatic, which makes the job or the task automatic on different, like on Toyota company, on Ford company, on this kind of, programs, this kind of robots were controlled by C++. So that's you learn C++. If you want to become a game developer, you need to learn C++ programming language. If you want to become, desktop application developer, you learn C++ and develop any desktop application you want. If you want to become mobile application developer, you use. So it's a general purpose language, and you can develop any kind of application. But the difference is why you can, easily develop, much more easily develop an application in Python than C++. Why you are not, using Python? Because if a situation, a problems which we need to solve needs high performance, it's time critical, so we use C++ for that one. Because most of the games were developed by C++, most of the operating system developed by C++. No one can develop an operating system by using Python, because Python is top level language, high level language. Is the Python, then at the back end there is C++, code, and then from C++ we go to the operating system, then we go to the hardware. So there is much more layers, but the C++ have direct access. So this was our first lecture. I hope this lecture were useful, and it was an introduction lecture to the programming and why we need to learn programs. What is a program? Who is programmer? What is programming? And why we need to learn to write programs. And what is C++ programming language? What kind of application we can develop by C++ programming language? And what kinds of language we have.